We are recording. Okay. Pull up the chat. Okay. So as always, during the class time, you can ask questions whenever in the chat, or you can click the raise hand button in Zoom, and I will go into the participants and unmute you and all that. So anytime at all, feel free to do that. I'll try to leave some time for questions during the lecture, but at the end of class, we're always going to have time to answer any questions that you may have. Okay, let's jump in. So as I mentioned, today's topic is clients or client relationship. And what I mean by that is, here, I'll just pop this up. Anybody that has hired you, anybody who is working with you, if you're cast for something, it's the person who cast you typically. Sometimes there are casting directors and then they take you to the director themselves, but typically it's the person who's hearing your auditions, the one that's cast you, the one who sends you the script, all that good stuff. So I put a few examples here: manager, voice director. So yeah, keep in mind, it's not always the director. Sometimes it's the person that they're working for. In fact, I've worked with people who they email me, and the client who hired them to pick the voices, they don't even know the title of the game that they're working for. They're just like, hey, we need voices. We'll tell you more later when we find out. So it's not always the person in charge. So keep that in mind. But regardless, this applies to everyone, whether it be director, casting manager, even fellow voice actors and colleagues, artists, sound editors, all that good stuff. So we're going to be talking about 3 specific things when it comes to clients today: the process, being professional versus being friendly, which is the main thing that I want to focus on today, because it's something that a lot of people don't think about, and I think it's very important when it comes to voiceover. And then we're going to touch on the community and how that plays into all of this. So that'll be the main thing for today. Okay. So really quick, I had a lot of questions last week about the specific process of voiceover. It was more the other class, the one that I teach on Tuesdays. But some of you had the same questions, like, you've never done this. Like, where do I even start? So typically, you want to start with the auditions. And for those of you who did the 10 a week, you're already good at this. You've already been through this for the most part. To touch on some specifics here, I recommend doing 2 to 3 takes per audition, because when it comes to the client or the director, like, this is how it plays in, they really typically do not have time to listen to 4, 5, 6 takes. Sometimes even 3 can be too many. It's really up to you. What I typically, nothing's black and white when it comes to this stuff, but I typically check out the length of the line. If it's a super long line, you probably don't need more than 2. It really depends. But directors are picky when it comes to this. In fact, a lot of directors will put it in their like, either in the description of the project, like on casting call, or they'll put it in the Google Doc where all the information is, and you can read through it, and they'll say specifically 2 takes per line, or 3 takes per line, or even 1 take per line. But if they don't specify, don't go over that, because there are directors that, maybe there'll be some directors who will sit through an entire audition like that, but speaking from experience, it takes forever. And they really just want to find the voice right away. So just give them what they want, make it brief. That's what they're looking for. And in fact, I had someone one time, they were asking me some advice about an audition, and the more acting ability than anything else. And I was amazed, because I kid you not, I think they had 7 or 8 takes for a single line. And I had to tell them, like, this is not how it's done. But even then, they were, so just keep that in mind. I'm saying it in case you don't know at all, because this person clearly didn't know, but that's general knowledge in the voiceover world. You don't go over that typically, unless otherwise specified, of course. And another thing, you hear this all the time too, if you have tons of space in between each line, it's not good. If we can hear you breathing and clicking, taking in the breath, and then saying the line, it's just unprofessional. And people, they don't have the time to listen through all that empty space, and most of them will not feel like skipping around. So you can edit all that out in Audacity very easily. The counter and the flip side to this is, don't leave too little space either. I've had a lot of directors come to me and say, because I used to get into this habit a lot, I'd edit all my lines together really tightly, and they had a hard time splitting it up for the actual project. So you got to have a balance when it comes to space, right? Maybe a second, no more, maybe a little less, but you definitely don't want it to be like I'm the hero. I want to fight you. I'm the hero. And then right away the line starts again because they're not, it's unprofessional and it's hard to split up when they're actually in the editing process. So that all ties into being professional. I would recommend, Casting Call is really good with this. It actually has an option where you can type up a message when you submit the audition, which I think is like great. There was never, back when I first joined Casting Call, you had to actually comment if you wanted to talk to the director or mention something about your audition, but now you can actually just put it on your audition, which I think is really cool. I recommend doing that, even just a simple thank you for the opportunity. That's classic. You can't go wrong with that. It just shows the director, if nothing else, that you are professional to work with, easy to work with, and flexible. You know, like it's amazing how one sentence or one phrase can change a director's mind when it comes to that. So that's for the audition. If you have any more questions about that, just let me know. But then obviously your cast, it's not really a process. That just happens. You get the email, you start getting in contact with the director. They typically will tell you how they want to communicate with you, whether it's asking for a Discord username, whether it's communicating through Casting Call or even email. They'll let you know. It's super easy. And then they send you the script. And this part, you know, you just have the script, you sit in front of your mic, you know how this is done. You send it in, and then revisions, of course, it's when they ask you, hey, can you do this line a little bit differently or this a little bit differently? Keep in mind, there are some directors, not a lot of them, but a good chunk, a good percentage of the directors you may work for in the future may want to do live sessions. If they want to do a live session with you, there typically is no need for revisions. That's one of the things I love about doing live recordings. Essentially, you hit record on Audacity or whatever program you're using. You're talking with the director through Discord or Skype, probably Discord. No one uses Skype nowadays. And you do the script. They tell you, hey, can you change that a little bit? Blah, 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 blah. It's a fun process, and you'll be encountering that in the future if you continue doing these auditions and such. Let me check the chat really quick. 1 to 2 seconds. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that when it comes to space. When doing takes, do you believe 2 different styles to the take is preferred? Definitely. This is a good point. The director also doesn't like to hear the exact same thing twice. What's the point? What's the point if you record the exact same thing and then the exact same thing again? In the same exact way, the same exact voice. The only thing that tells them is, hey, I can do this consistently. But what they want to hear is, they want to hear you try something different. They want to hear you and not... Yeah, exactly. They love the style differences. They want to hear your voice, which is also why I personally do not recommend listening to everybody's auditions before auditioning, because it can impact how you do your audition. And you want to just be you. You don't want to be that guy, because otherwise they'll just cast that guy, right? You want to bring something unique to the table. Style differences is key. Absolutely. Every take should be unique to the others, for sure. And hey, when you're recording, like, feel free to record 4 or 5 and then choose your favorites. I do that all the time. If you record just 1 or 2, you may look back and find that there was a sound in the background that you didn't notice at first, or you peaked when you didn't realize it, or something. So keep that in mind as well. It's not like you only have to record 2 or 3. It's just that's typically what you want to submit. Exactly. 5 minutes of a single audition, and it just becomes 30 seconds because of all the space and whatnot. So knock yourself out when it comes to that. And then this part. So this is something, let me just move this out of there really quick. This is an important part too. So then the project comes out. It's out there for the world to see, and your job now is to post it to your Twitter or share it even on YouTube. You could mention it in one of your videos. You can post it in the Discord and say, hey guys, I voiced in this, right? You can communicate with the director and say, hey, I'd love to work with you on any future projects you may have. That's what the future is here. It doesn't end there. When the video comes out or the project releases, that's not the end of it. That's nowhere near. You want to let people know, without being pestering, of course, but don't be afraid to put it out there, to put your work out there. I think it's great if you're doing a lot of YouTube work to put together a playlist of all the videos that you've done. I do that. I think it's if nothing else, it just shows people, wow, they've done a lot of cool work. And it's also a way for you to go through and just see what you've done over the months years in the future. So, and then learn from that. So I think every single person has experienced this if they've voiced in a video or a project or something. When it comes out, they think, oh, I sound so bad. Or, oh, I did not think I sounded like that. Why can I do this differently? And trust me, everyone feels that way. If nothing else, learn from that. From now on, say, okay, I'm gonna bring this out more. Whether it's maybe you thought I didn't project enough. Typically, you're going to be wrong, but at the very least, you learned from that, and now for next time, there you go. Even like big time voice actors, video games, anime, whatnot, they go through the same thing. They do not remember sounding like that. They wish they could go back and redo it. Typically, you can't do that, and it's fine. 99% of the time, 100% even. The director liked it. That's all that matters. The people are going to love it, and now you can learn from that. So any questions about that? If I've missed something, if anyone has any questions about that whole process, how it relates to working with directors and clients and whatnot. Going once, going twice. All good? I'm going a little fast too because I want to make sure we have time for the activity because that's the fun part. Okay. Let's jump into the bread and butter of this class today, which is being professional versus being friendly. This is key. Okay, I was on the Behind the Slate. It's kind of like a video podcast, I guess, run by Christian O'Boyle. And pretty much the entire hour, this is what we talked about. And we didn't even realize it because it's such an interesting topic. So, okay. Wait, hold on. Gotta love the fun part. Exactly. Okay. Oh, there we go. I'll just pull all of these up. So, a lot of people wonder, okay, what's the balance? Professional, is it bad to be too professional? Is it bad to be too friendly? The answer is yes. It is bad to be either of those things. When you're sending an email, when you're sending a message, you should never be just one or the other. I'm going to provide some examples of this, but I guess the best thing I can bring up now is an example from my past. When I first started doing voiceover, I was extremely friendly with everybody, which you should be. I was probably more like 50% though friendly and 50% professional. And I have one friend in particular who he told me maybe, I don't know, a year ago or something. He said, when I first met you, I thought you were fake because of all the emojis you would send and you were always in a happy mood. And even if that's who I was, I didn't realize that was sort of impacting my voiceover career, even in a minor way, because if it was him, he became one of my best friends in the voiceover community, then who knows what other people thought. That's kind of, I'm not saying that's happening to everyone here, but just be on the lookout for that. Death to emojis. I mean, emojis are okay, like everything. Okay, let me go from top to bottom here. So just to knock this out. So this applies to emails. So all forms of communication, email, Discord, Skype, casting call messaging, anything, Facebook messaging, if you're friends with them on Facebook. There's never a point where you should be 100% friendly or 100% professional. Okay, you could argue professional, but definitely never 100% friendly. There are people who I've gotten to know them super well. We're really good friends, and we talk all the time. We make jokes at each other and poke fun and make fun videos together. But when it comes to voiceover, if I have to ask them to do something in my project or send them some lines, or we're talking about an audition, we instantly have to turn on a little bit of our professional mode at the very least, because we're asking them to take time out of their day. It's a whole new field. So even if you know them super well, you always want to bring some professionalism into it whenever it deals with something professional, like working for a project. So that 90-10, it can change depending on how well you know the person, but you should always start off like that. And I'll show some examples, like I said, in just a sec. But yeah, from there, you establish the connection. And I'm going to bring up in a sec an amazing analogy that I've been working on, and I'm really proud of it personally when it comes to connections and whatnot. But that's the key. You want to make friends with people because then they know people and they know people, and it all comes back to you being a professional. But at the same time, you can't make these connections if you're not being friendly. They're not going to want to work with you if you're just a brick who has no emotion or soul in your emails, but they also will not want to work with you if you treat the project unprofessionally, just by your mannerisms. I have a question in the chat here. How often do you need to communicate with your director? That's something that really depends on the situation. If it's a long-standing project, like maybe a series, a web series, or a video game that's going to take a long time to make and they need like chapters done, like a visual novel, then it really depends. If the project is going to take years to make, it could be once a week or something, if it's a long-standing project. But if it's just a video, maybe an abridged video or something like that, they'll reach out to you, you'll communicate for a day, they'll send you the script, I don't know, maybe once or twice a day for a few days. It really depends though. There's no clear answer for that. But it's typically no more than that, depending, of course. But again, it all ties back to always 100% of the time being professional. You never drop the professional when it comes to voiceover. So when people are talking about emojis in the chat, emojis aren't bad. Okay, I don't want to put death on all emojis, just most of them, and most of the time. So if it's an email, I typically tell people don't use emojis at all. Email, it's just different when you're sending an email, right, to a company or to a director. You can put a little smiley face if you want. I'm being specific here because this is important, trust me. If you put the colon parentheses, like, that's okay, but don't do anything more than that, trust me. It can be fine. Like I'm not saying that all directors are going to instantly turn away if they see that. It's just, you don't want to give them that impression that you're too over the top friendly. Now, if it's Discord and you're reaching out to somebody, that's fine. You can send an emoji or two, no problem, but they shouldn't be in every sentence, in every line, like boom, boom, boom. It just sends the wrong message in a lot of cases. There's a project you're in that has emojis everywhere. Yeah, so once you're in the project and you're starting to get to know them and you're talking about other things, you know, anime and games and whatnot, or even the project if you're doing it in a friendly way, who cares? Like, it's totally fine. It's mostly just when you're introducing yourself and you apologize in advance. You're fine. You're totally fine. Okay, I want to be specific here. This is when you first make the connection, typically, and you're first starting to get to know the director and you're first starting to work with them. If you've known them for a while, there's less of a need to be super, super professional, although you always want to keep that present. In the chat or the script, scripts, never. There's never going to be emojis. If there is, there shouldn't be. If you're in the chat and you're talking with people and having fun, by all means, like that's a whole new ballgame. You can be 100% friendly there. But if you're actually talking about the project and getting in lines and scripts, that's different. You want to maintain a professional attitude while still being friendly, of course, during that time. So I don't want to get people the wrong idea that you can never touch emojis again. But it is important. Because if you reach out to a director and they just see a ton of that, they have plenty of other people who are sending them emails and they're probably just going to look away. In a lot of cases, they will. So aside from emojis, just obviously punctuation, capitalization, it's key. If you look like if you audition, okay, so on casting call, you know those projects, it's like one line and there's no capitalization or a punctuation or anything. You don't want to be that person. So take your time making the email, crafting it, making it look nice. I'll show you some examples again, like I said, in just a sec. I crafted some this morning. It's really a process that you discover as you work. But keep in mind that voiceover, obviously the main focus is being in front of the microphone, but most of the time it's communicating, sending emails, reaching out to people, audition emails, messages, questions, whatnot. So this is important stuff to keep in mind. I was trying to think of an awesome analogy for this on my way here, and all I could think of was ice cream. Like, you always have the professional, right? But sprinkle on the friendly every once in a while, because who doesn't want sprinkles? See, no, but the problem with that analogy is ice cream without sprinkles is amazing. So I had a problem with that on the way here. I love ice cream. Everybody, that's okay. If you don't like sprinkles, then something's wrong with you. You never grow too old for sprinkles. Okay, so here's some examples, like I promised. No, don't leave, Alex. Haha. Just, you're wrong. That's all. Here are the examples I promised. So I'm going to pull up two examples here, two sides of the coin. This was just me. I'm sorry if this doesn't look too realistic, but I promise you, people are like this all the time, all the time. So on the left, we obviously have way too friendly. If you see this person and they're reaching out to you, that's bad, okay? Now, okay, if this person has reached out to you, I wouldn't turn them away, right? I just would be more careful. I wouldn't assume that they're going to be professional. I have a friend who, he's a great director. He's a fantastic director. He makes the best projects. But when he reaches out to people, he's pretty much like this on the left, except maybe even more. He uses capitalization. Maybe I should have added some all caps in there now that I'm thinking about it. But this is realistic, I think. You see this a lot, whether it's in projects or people reaching out to you, like I said. So, and then on the right, we have the flip side. You see these people too. They're not as common, but one of my first directors I ever worked with was like this. And they were just like, hello, I need this done. Thank you. And it was just a soulless email. And you don't want to work with someone like that either. So in either of these cases, I wouldn't turn them away immediately. I would just play it safe, play it cautious. Don't assume that they're going to be professional, or don't assume that they're going to be friendly, right? And don't be like this. That's the main thing. Don't be like this. You got to have a balance, and I'll show the balance in just a sec. Let me check the chat here. You can say, here's my audition, but don't just be like, boom, boom, hello, here it is, done. Because they want to work with somebody who's willing to work with them, and they want to make friends with you. Clearly, even if you're going to be working together and being colleagues, and you want to be professional at the same time. Eternal Darkness, that was a name I just came up with. I don't know. And the email there is one of my good friends, because I love his email. It's hilarious. Has no auditions. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't attach anything. I know. Ugh, the realism is lost. I ruined everything. It's the twos. It's the two Joes. Yep. This is me in two parallel universes. No worries, Meg. No worries. We're talking about being professional versus being friendly. This is all being recorded, so you can check back after class once the video is up. So, okay, this, again, nothing's black and white when it comes to this stuff, but this is closer to the email that you should send. This is something, again, there's nothing attached. Please forgive me. But it should look something like this. You can switch things around. It doesn't have to be a copy and paste of this. Every email should be different. But if you can tell, I'm being professional, right? But you can also see a couple exclamation points, you know, hey, the project looked amazing. Thank you for the opportunity, stuff like that. You can't go wrong with stuff like that. Just like this right here, I would give it 90% professional, maybe a little less. You want to be around that ballpark. Dr. Bonet. Yes, and you're in time for the activity. That's the important part. So any questions about all this stuff? Professionalism, being friendly. I wish friendlyism was a word. Professionalism, friendlyism. Let's pretend like it is. Friendality, there you go. Friendality. Okay, let's move on. This part's gonna be super quick, super easy. Oh, there we go. Community. So this is just something I tacked on at the last minute to talk about how all these social medias work together. I think the best social media for voice acting is Twitter. There's, tons of voice actors on Twitter, and they're tweeting about voiceover, they're tweeting about projects, they're tweeting about their life, which is super fun. I think Twitter is a great place to be. I think if you're a voice actor, you should make a Twitter. A lot of jobs that I have, in fact, are from Twitter, which amazes a lot of people, but you'd be surprised. You get to know people, you get to make friends. It's a great place to be. Discord is your main place for a lot of the projects you're going to be a part of, mostly casual projects, hobby projects. So if you don't have a Discord yet, you should, because you should be in our education Discord. But if not, Discord is another #1 place to be. obviously casting call. Facebook, I mean, not many people use Facebook nowadays, but I still am a part of a couple of voiceover Facebook groups. And I have some friends on Facebook who are voice actors I've worked with over the years. So that's another thing to consider, of course. And then YouTube, I already mentioned, you're going to meet voice actors through YouTube if you make videos, comic dubs, whatnot, if you voice in videos. Make a YouTube playlist, put it all together. Good stuff there. Thought I had another story. Oh, okay. So I want to end this section by, hold on really quick, some good Twitter handles to follow. Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many. I'll talk about them at the end. Okay, if we have time at the end, I'll brag about some amazing people who talk about projects on Twitter. Should we do multiple takes as well when we get cast? Excellent question. Absolutely. Absolutely do 3 takes. Okay, when it comes to being cast, you can be less lenient with, I got to keep it short and sweet, because now the director is committed to you. And in a lot of cases, the more takes, the better. That said, I wouldn't do 10. I wouldn't even do more than 5. I think 5 is your absolute max when it comes to being cast and sending in lines for a project. But yeah. Look for Twitter for voice acting opportunities. I'll put some stuff at the end, and I'll put some Twitter handles in the chat for all that stuff. Okay, so there's drama on Twitter, but you'd be surprised at how little drama there is in the voiceover community. There's something that comes up every couple months, but it's typically something that brings us all together. If anything, typically there has been a couple times where voice actors are like, oh, I think this and I think this when it comes to whatnot, but honestly, if you don't like that, then you just don't have to worry about it. It typically lasts a day. 99% of the time, everybody there are angels. They're all angels. It's a great place to be. It really is. And every professional voice actor that I've talked to as well has said the exact same thing, that Twitter is key. Just start following people, and a lot of them will follow you back, and just follow Friday and stuff. It's really fun. It's really fun. Okay, one last story that emphasizes how important the community is. Maybe a little over a year ago, I was reached out, someone reached out to me about a project, and they wanted me to voice a couple lines for a comic dub or something. And typically when they just reach out of the blue and ask me to do something like that, I think about it a little bit more, but they seemed friendly enough and, professional. So I agreed to do it. And they immediately responded back with, can you send it tomorrow within 24 hours? And I agreed. The next day I was working all day, but I was like, okay, I'll just squeeze it in. It's 2 lines, Well, this is on me. I forgot to do them. I came home and I thought, anything I have to record? No. So I just went about my other business. So the next day, so this is 2 days after first reaching out to me, the day after I was supposed to send the lines, I received a 2-paragraph email from this person, big chunky paragraphs, talking about how much of a terrible person I was, that I was a liar, that I'm the reason the voiceover community gets so much hate. And I was completely floored. Like, where is this all coming from? And I mean, there's so many other things. They threatened to expose me to the voice acting community. And it was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. I responded back very politely, but also telling this person, I'm sorry, I was a day late, but you have to understand when it comes to, especially unpaid projects, 24 hours, limited time. I responded back in a good way, not losing my cool, not getting angry at all. They responded back. They apologized. They said they had bad experiences with other voice actors and they thought it was just the same thing over and over again. And I sent the lines. I've never heard from that person again, but we ended on decent terms. So my point is, if you respond badly to a situation like that, it can actually turn people against you. All it takes is a couple people saying, oh, don't work with Dr. Bonehead. Don't work with Joe Goffney because of this and that, right? And even if most people don't believe it, it can spread around without even realizing it. And if you lose your cool in a situation like that, they can screenshot it and who knows. So basically, always be professional, even when people are not being professional to you. That's what you should take away from this as well. That's another big key. I know, I didn't feel bad about it at all because it was so out of the blue, but it's a good story to tell about how important being professional is and all that. So Last minute questions before we jump into the activity. Let me stop this here. People are excited. Okay, I'm gonna do this.
Oh.
Yep, birds transforming.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Yep, yep.
Thank you for a second reason to not watch Ruby.
Oh.
I already don't like the animation. The script now just made me 100% know that's not my type of show.
It's not everyone's thing, but it's a good show.
Thing was reminding me of the Jello Apocalypse video on Ruby, and I was so close.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I can turn into a bird.
Why is my name spelled with a Q?
No, you don't understand. Being a bird is the worst thing ever.
Right? They treat it like it's something bad. Like, how could you? What's wrong with you? And Osmond's like,
It's entirely beneficial.
This would be 100 times funnier if I watched Ruby. I wish I had watched
you're
it.
gonna watch it, and now you're gonna be like, okay. It's
You should
entirely
not
fine.
watch it.
Just reading the sentence "the four" is funny enough.
I think Ruby's good. For those of you who like fantasy and stuff, and those of you who don't like the animation, it doesn't.
I knew it was weeb shit.
It does
I'm just saying.
improve.
I
Yeah,
watch weeb shit, you know.
it all depends. We're all weebs here, exactly. It depends.
We're all weird.
Just, I have posters everywhere of weeb shit.
I think we're gonna start a debate. If we keep going, people are
Also,
gonna get mad.
I think we have the same chair. I think Brandon and I have the same chair.
Oh, really?
No, yours has a name on the back. Mine does not.
Okay.
Maybe our chair's the
similar
same.
chairs.
Mine doesn't have a name.
Okay. So, any thoughts on the script? But aside from people who just like Ruby, like when it comes to acting, was there any challenges that anybody faced?
I mean, I was super nervous, so I couldn't
Okay.
really act.
That's okay.
With me, like, one thing I struggle with is, like, I read a bit slower than I actually speak, which can kind of be an issue for me when I'm trying to, like, do a thing, like when I'm doing YouTube stuff or just auditions and stuff. So it took me a while to get adjusted to that, but I figured it out eventually.
That's okay. Cold reads, like, that's why they're there, to practice that. But in the future, most of the time, you'll be able to go through the script as many times as you want. But that's good. I'm glad that you're able to practice that. Any other thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I thought that Eric, Liz, and Fletcher, like, they had the most ability within that script to really develop their character and, like, shine through. I guess with that, just, you know, I thought this was a great chance for those characters to shine through. Like, excellent reads for them, excellent script for them, but, like, just making sure that if it is something like this, you know, making sure that it is all the lines that are relevant are shown through.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Weiss and Ruby, excuse me, got as much opportunity to shine through, which wasn't a problem in our group breakout. So.
Right, because we were able to swap roles, make sure everyone got something good. So I'll keep that in mind. In the future, I'll try to make sure that every character has their moments to shine, But, you know, what's interesting is a lot of times in voiceover, you get characters like that who they have a few lines in a scene here and there. They're not always, you know, this personality trait or this personality trait. They're just a regular person. So I do think, you know, keeping that in mind too. It is important to practice that, becoming a person. And even the characters like that, you can always bring something out too. So, so that's a good point. Good point for sure. Anyone else?
Once I realized it was Ruby, I sort of got stuck with that because I watched Ruby, and so I knew what the characters were supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
But because I sound nothing like this character, so I spent a while just trying to like when I had to do Fletcher.
My brain is just shutting down, realizing how obvious it was.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Crystal.
When I had to do Fletcher / Arrow, his voice was like super low and like nasally and
Why is my name spelled with a Q?
My name's spelled with a Q. Yeah, it's so like, ugh.
And that's not a voice I could do. And I think I spent a bit too much time trying to get that voice instead of actually perform. I just
see.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a hurdle. Yeah. No worries. No worries. I think, yeah, for the future, just keep in mind it's you. Your voice, it's your own take on this character. So, but yeah, good point there. I actually was having problems with that too, because during our session, I took Amy both times. Like we swapped characters once and went through it. And unintentionally, I was like, guys, like doing that Ruby voice. And I was like, no, Joe, stay down. You're not Ruby.
It was great. It was
Yeah.
great though.
Yeah, thank you. My Ruby is pretty solid, I know. It's terrible.
Don't doubt it.
Yeah.
One die.
I'm sorry. You survived the weeb session.
No, I'm fine with weeb shit. I'm just
More weeb shit.
again. Look at my shelf. I am fine with weeb shit.
Okay.
My brain is just broken that I didn't recognize it.
I understand.
Question.
Everything was so obvious.
I'm not a weeb. This is not Berserk. I'm not a weeb.
Go ahead, Brandon. You have a question?
Well, Kmart had a question about in the chat.
Oh.
Doing super animated characters in the future.
Super animated characters.
Because
Our
like
group
we
had
started getting more like loose with the characters.
Oh, I see. So you mean characters with more times to shine, more times to show off their energy?
Like a
Definitely.
more animated scene, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with some yelling.
Let's do a fight scene.
Okay. All right. I'll keep I think every week I want to
Speaking of
cover
yelling
something
and stuff
different.
like that,
Yeah.
speaking of yelling and stuff like that, I do have one question. Like when recording, how, like for one, like how do you like yell without fucking blowing out your mic?
I know it's tough. It can be
Gain
tough.
like that.
It's really just gain. Yeah, like that's
You just
number
kind of
one.
yell quietly, I guess.
No.
For you.
You turn down how much your mic is recording. Like you turn that.
Okay.
Yeti, there's a setting you can go into Audacity and lower that. Like that's key. You can
Depending
back
on
away
what
a
I
little
do,
bit, but-
I lower it or raise it depending on what I do.
And you can lower gain and stuff like that in Audacity, obviously.
I actually had no idea you could do it through Audacity. How I've been screaming into the mic is I've just been like turning it like around and pray that it still doesn't peak.
If that works, that works. Like whatever it takes. Yeah.
Sometimes it sounds awful, but like sometimes I can get it right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's my recommendation. You can back away a little bit, but just play around with it. Just experiment with the screaming and the yelling and stuff.
Yeah, I had to do a supervillain voice just the other day, and I had to be like right here. Gain was all the way 5%. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Hey,
That's
Joe.
just never mind.
You're good.
Never mind.
Someone had a question?
I was gonna ask: is it too soon to ask about clipping? Like when you're screaming or yelling, is clipping simply when your voice gets into the red zone?
Pretty much.
Or is there more to it?
That's pretty much it. I don't know
Also,
yeah.
I actually do have a question. So I've heard a lot of stories with like acting guilds and acting unions, stuff like that, where basically people have to change their name for reasons. Yeah. Is that like a big thing in voice acting too?
Yeah. Here, first let me finish Chara's question. I'm never gonna say sorry. Chara, I'm sorry. Okay, so I think that's the gist of it. That's the main thing is when the wave, like you see the thing like hit the top or even get near the top sometimes. That's really what produces that sound, and it just makes the audio sound distorted and weird. So again, the best way to fix that is just lower your gain. If it's a scene where there's like talking and then you build up to a yell, don't be afraid to lower your gain by a lot. Just make sure it doesn't get too high, like touching the ceiling of the track, because that's called peaking, peaking or clipping or whatnot. That can happen even with non-speaking lines if you're not careful. So I always like watching your Audacity track as you record, like put it in the background, even minimize, as long as there's something that you can see to make sure that there's nothing going on.
Right. Yeah, thank you. I asked because I recently had to record lines for auditions that required some yelling, and I didn't want to quiet it down too much, but at the same time, I didn't want to get into that range.
No, it's okay. Directors don't mind it if it's quieter, because you're gonna build up to that volume level anyway, just by being loud. So I wouldn't worry about it. Experiments, practice, listen, move things around, play with it.
When recording with Audacity, clip fix is your best friend, especially if it's like only peaking a little bit. Like,
yeah,
wonders.
There's tools you can use out there for sure. Okay, and then Alex, you're talking about using an alias for voice work. It's really up to you. But for YouTube work, for fun projects that I do, I use Dr. Bonehead. That's the name I've gone by for a while. But when it comes to video games, visual novels, I go by Joe Goffney. So I go by both. Okay. It really depends on your personal preference.
I've read a lot of stories from like acting and director guilds and writers guilds and stuff like that, where like basically because of some guild rules or something like that, two people in the guild can't have the same name or something like that. So one person would have to change it because like some dude who hasn't acted since the 70s is still technically a part of the guild and he has the same name.
I know nothing about that. Sorry. I'm not a part of any Screen Actors Guild or whatnot. So I wouldn't know in that area.
I was just curious if there's something similar for voice acting and stuff like that, because
I wouldn't worry about it.
I don't want to deal with legal paperwork and changing my name legally.
I don't think you're going to have to worry about that. Don't worry.
I'm rather attached to my name. I've had it all my life.
I think if you ever get to that point, you can probably just go by a different name if you really wanted to.
The second.
But you won't have to, yeah, right. Or your middle name or whatever. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I've never heard of that being an issue.
Have you ever seen a thing where an alias got you less work?
I've heard story. I personally have not. I get a lot of all kinds of.
I actually know something about this.
Okay.
So this is a screen acting related thing and not a voice acting related thing. But back when Arnold Schwarzenegger was first starting out and doing acting stuff, he actually went by the alias Arnold Strong because Schwarzenegger is not a name that anyone would have figured out how to pronounce if he hadn't become famous. So. Right. And that was a disaster for him, or something like that. And eventually, as we all know, it eventually got to the point where a movie could just put Schwarzenegger on the poster, and anyone would guess.
Right. Yeah. So it's personal preference. If you have a hard name to pronounce, you can go by something else, just on Twitter, or in the credits and whatnot. I know people who do that, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now you're talking. The question was on. Alias, does an alias get you less jobs or has it ever gotten me less jobs? Not me personally. I've heard stories of people who say, it can happen. I've never actually heard of someone getting turned down because of something like that. But I think a reason why some people go by multiple names is because of that. So they'll do fun projects as an alias, like a username, and then they'll do anime and video games as their real name. But honestly, that's just a safeguard. I've never heard of it actually damaging someone's chances at a role or anything like that, so I wouldn't worry about it. My good friend Ruka Samuels, she does a ton of YouTube work and a ton of visual novel and video game work, and she just goes by Ruka Samuels on both, and it's never impacted her at all. So, yeah. Does that make sense for the most part? I wanted to say, each script that we cover every week, I'm going to try to cover something different. So today's main focus for me was dialogue, just communicating with other, bouncing off of people, delving into some characters' emotion and how they come out at the end of the script versus the beginning of the script. Just a regular conversation in a story. That was today's goal. We'll certainly do fight scenes and more emotional stuff as we go along, but this is just to sort of ease us in to the
I can stream attack names very loudly.
Attack names. Oh, that would be fun.
Rasengan!
Yep.
Love me some weep shit.
That'll just be two people just yelling Sasuke and Naruto back to back.
I should do that as a prank. Here's the script, guys.
Oh my god.
Or Inuyasha Kagome.
I was gonna bring that up too. Yeah, in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Classic. Any other last-minute questions before we take off for the night? I know we went a lot over, so I apologize if that's a problem. Yeah.
Could you send us some people to follow if we want to?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, about that.
Feed ourselves into the Twitter sphere.
For sure. Let me.
Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
Because I already went out and followed you, but other than that.
Oh, thank you.
I should follow you. Yeah.
Yeah, should do that too.
Okay, I'm going to find their usernames here. If anyone has any that they know of, feel free to post them in the chat. This is a big one, Amanda Hufford. She does a lot of this stuff. That's her.
Oh, she's great.
She's great. She loves spreading projects, spreading the word. Another great voice talent who's good at this stuff. He always knows what's new, what the projects are. Bell. He's the nicest guy you'll ever meet, too. So I just recommend following him anyway. I recommend following Voice Acting Club. They tweet out their projects. Casting Call doesn't really do that because they have too many. But that's the place where you'll find the video games and the animation and stuff. And they like tweeting out their projects. So that's a great place. Now that I'm like on the spot, it's like, okay, who else is there? Who else do I see in my feed? I'd say those are 3 big ones, though. And you can see who they're retweeting and who they're following and whatnot to keep branching out. But if you follow any voice actors even, then it's a good place to start because they like just voice actors in general love retweeting stuff. This is a good place just to hear other talents if you want to hear other fellow voice actors. There's a lot of people competing in this competition.
Yeah, I was going to ask if anyone here was.
I am, personally.
Hey!
I know they're announcing the results, but I don't know. We'll see.
I was going to go for Sonic, but I was working on other projects.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Yeah, for stuff like these, don't be afraid to give it a shot, you know? Even if it's like, oh, these are for the pros, quote unquote. It's like, no. This is for
whatever character you want.
All of you guys should go for all this stuff because I think
just throw yourself at whatever you can throw yourself at, no matter how badly you fail.
Honestly, yes. Because how else are you going to learn, you know? And you probably won't even fail. So, yeah. Got to look on the right side.
Thank you for those.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, this person's good too. I
just closed out Twitter. How inconsiderate.
I'm so sorry. I'm just the worst.
Yes, you
is good. She runs a lot of projects herself too, so she posts a lot of casting calls and whatnot.
Oh, wait a minute.
And for those of you who are watching this video later, I'll post these Twitter handles in the description of the video or the email. I'm not. This video will either go up as Dropbox or YouTube. I'm not sure yet.
Is that an L or an I?
It's an I. Sorry.
Ika in. Okay.
Intong. Yep. Ika Intong.
As I say, Twitter says otherwise.
Oh boy.
Could I put some in as well?
Oh, please do.
Oh, I missed the A. That's what happened.
Oh, Jem.
I love following this person because
Jordan.
She has a lot of good beginner tips, also for amateurs and pros, and she also reposts a lot of cool casting calls and stuff. So definitely give her a look.
Yeah. Now Jordan's they talk with another person who's also very positive, but more NSFW content. If people want that handle,
sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's post, and you guys can keep posting in the Discord too. Kovacs is great.
There you go. Yeah.
I like this guy.
There's so many.
Like he's just hilarious.
There we go.
Yeah, Sea-Dog's great.
Boy.
Yeah, there's too many to just name.
Oh, Sea-Dog's good.
Yeah.
It's money.
These are some of the big ones. So, okay, any other last minute questions? We can keep doing this in the Discord too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But,
question.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Okay, so what is our homework? Do we have anything that we could work on?
Good question. So really it's just 10 auditions a week. I'm working on what you all are going to be working on for the last class, kind of like a final project, quote unquote. But I'll give the details for that next week. That's when we're going to finally start working on that. So for this week, just work on your auditions. Try to do 10. If you can do more than 10, that's great. If you can't do 10, that's totally
I couldn't get 10 in last week. I had family visiting, so I needed to spend time.
You're totally fine. You're totally fine. But good question there. Okay, last question goes to Crystal. I know she was listening.
Okay. Is it better to audition earlier or later? So like let's
Okay.
say there's a project showing up, and it just showed up like yesterday or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it better to audition right away or wait for a little bit and then audition? Like, what's
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I know, I get you. Is it better to do audition right away or to wait? Honestly, I think auditioning as soon as possible is good because the director will probably hear your voice sooner, you know. But like, there's really no rule. If you see the casting call and there's like 3 hours until the deadline, audition anyway. You probably have just as much of a chance as anyone else. But I recommend just doing it sooner than never, sooner than later, possibly never, because I've had times where I've forgotten that I'd recorded them and then it's past the deadline. It's like, no, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
So
Can I put in my 2 cents with that?
absolutely.
So yeah, it is better to go earlier because your director is more likely to hear it, and then at that point you are the bar, and anyone else below you, like, they just ignore people who are below the bar. So it's better to get in and be the bar than below the bar, like, or not below the bar, but like have to jump over the bar.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
I like
And then on top of that, they also see that you are responsive, you are on top of it, you are ready to go as soon as they post something. So that shows a level of professionalism.
True. I totally agree.
Thank
But
you.
again, don't worry if you do it late. But sooner the better, for sure.
Oh, I just see the chat just filled with you.
It is. We'll
Yeah,
post
I'm
it.
just-
I recognize a lot of those names. There are a lot of positive people.
That's so many. I'm telling you,
Yeah, you
this
should probably
all of
post the chat log. You should probably post the chat log in that email you send out.
I will indeed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna copy it right now.
Yeah, you can get all of our disastrous woo-woo shit early on in there too.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody tried to slip in their own, like try to be like a little stealthy about it, like.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of it, but I am not worth following.
Hey, no.
That's not true.
I mean, we could all
Positivity.
follow each other just
Follow
for
each other. We should post it in the Discord. From now on, post it in the Discord.
Okay, I'll post my Twitter handle in the Discord.
All right.
Hell with it.
That's it for today. I know we went a lot over, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know. Next week, we're going to be talking about pricing and microphones. So I know that's a big
Oh boy.
that's a big one. So, all right. You guys did amazing. Great job. I'll see you guys.
Go in the Discord.
Today. Yeah.
Night.
See you
Friends.
goodbye.
See you,
Goodbye,
everybody.
everybody.
See ya.
Bye.